I am the director and founder of I Am Resilience, a resilience training, motivational speaking, and consultant platform where I work again with lawyers, groups of all types, raising awareness about wrongful convictions, bias, integrity, all those different type of issues. I did not practice law. Unfortunately, I fell under the weight of the unjust part of law and had to find my way, or rather fight my way back out of it.
And there's nobody, I think, better in the world, literally in the world, let alone in the legal system, to learn from about developing resilience than the people who are doing this innocence work, and more importantly, people like the man that I'm going to ask to talk now, Ricky Kidd. If you would start with just telling us about what crime were you accused of, and how did it play out, at least, for the arrest and processing, and what was your mindset, similar to or different from how things played out for Johnny D?
Yeah. Thank you. Watching Johnny D get arrested in the film takes me back to the moment where I was arrested. While I was not pulled over, I was pulled up on by two detectives, very, very shocked as it relates to them approaching me. I was extremely shocked. They told me to turn around, put those handcuffs on, and that they was taking me to jail for 2 counts of double homicide. That scene, my heart is palpitating right now. That scene just takes me back there so easy, what it was like for me. But also, before I get off into my story just a little bit, the reality of what Byron said, how it can happen to any of us, how we have to understand that it is not an anomaly, or it's not isolated, or no one is immune. Philando Castile is one of my best examples of doing the right thing and still getting shot. Sometimes we see a little resistance from individuals. It doesn't mean they should have got shot or killed or choked out. You see different things at play. But in Philando's case, he simply pulled over. He told the officer, "I have a gun." He said, "That's fine. Give me your license and registration." And as he's reaching for his license and registration, the cop unloads on him. That scares me to the day. It should scare us all. So whether you're Johnny D, whether you're Ricky Kidd, whether you're Philando Castile, we really have to be mindful of the state of our world when it comes to bias and what that looks like and how it shows up, whether you're getting arrested for a crime you didn't commit or whether you're actually being shot to death for complying with the officer. In my case, like I said, those cold handcuffs were slapped on me. It was February 6th, 1996. Oh, I'm sorry, it was February 6, 1996. The crime had occurred. I had went down for questioning February 9th. I went in for questioning. My name had come up and they released me. I thought that they realized that they made a mistake, that they had the wrong person. They really left me believing that they made a mistake. Our bad. Go along, move along. A few months later, May 22nd, 1996, is when they reapproached me and put those cuffs on me and sent me to prison, or rather sent me to the county. I thought that once I got to the county jail that it all was going to get worked out. I'm innocent. Innocent people in America don't go to jail, so I thought. At that age, I was 21 years of age. I did not have a paradigm, a frame of reference to believe that innocent people go to prison. So I thought, okay, I'm just about to be inconvenienced for 1 month, for 2 months, for 10 months, through a trial, and subsequently 23 years later at the trial, the jury did not want to hear what my public defender had to say. And might I mention, too, as a small caveat, Missouri's public defender system is ranked 49th as the worst public defender system in the country, which means I didn't even have a defense. I had all these facts of innocence, but my lawyer did not flush them out. She was simply overworked and overwhelmed, and she did not have the ability to be able to do so. Might I also mention that the most of the evidence that has me sitting before you, that leads to why I'm sitting before you right now, was there at the time of trial. That's how damning my case was. That's how shocking, or rather, that's how much of a failure our public defender system is, all that evidence was right there. In fact, I got denied 11 times because the courts were saying, wait a minute, this isn't new evidence. That evidence was right there. And so we're talking about the trial, we're also talking about the appeal. Once I get convicted and I get to the appeal process, all that evidence, the courts is saying, the rules are that the evidence has to be new and credible. My evidence was credible, but they said, Ricky, and to my attorneys, Professor Sean O'Brien, who's joined us many times in this space, it's not new, Mr. Bryan, or rather, Mr. O'Brien. The evidence is not new because it was available at the time of trial. But his lawyer didn't present it. Yeah, but it's not new. It kind of turned a blind eye to what they call ineffective assistance of counsel. I had a right to effective assistance of counsel as well. But that's what kept me in prison for many, many years. Even when we was able to prove my innocence in 2009, the state of Missouri niggled for 10 years over technicalities of the law because it was not new. Subsequent...
Ricky, I'm assuming one of those 11 appeals had to be an appeal grounded in claiming ineffective assistance of counsel, right? I mean...
Yes.
And that was denied. Even though it can be proven that there is actual exculpatory evidence that she didn't even find.
Yep. It was denied primarily, in my opinion, and many experts' opinion, it was denied because, and this is a whole nother segment, and I won't fully unpack that, but the courts are interested into finality of law. They really like finality of law. They want to say, you've been charged, you've had a trial, you're done. So they are very, very apprehensive about overturning a case. In fact, less than 1% is ever successful, but they did not. What they also don't like to do is open what they call a floodgate. And so they really don't like to do ineffective assistance of counsel. If we give it to Mr. Kidd, we'll give it to Mr. Brown, Mr. Johnny Joe, Mr. Osborne, Mr. Khan. And so they really like to keep those doors shut tight, even though I had a clear case of ineffective assistance of counsel and actual innocence.
What was an example of one of the pieces of evidence that the ultimate court found persuasive and demonstration of your innocence? I'm thinking of the witness who worked for the sheriff's department, right?
Yes, the witness, this Jackson. So I was at the Jackson County Sheriff's Department at the time of the crime. Can you imagine that? There's no greater alibi than being in the space of, or the building of law enforcement. That's where I was. That's what I told the police. My lawyers did not check into it. And about time somebody did check into it, they had sent a Sergeant Buffalo, a person who did not even handle the processing of why I was there that day, to testify. Maybe he could have faxed it in. Maybe he could have came on another day. Maybe could have had somebody else to bring it in. But Susan Jordan, Sheriff Deputy Susan Jordan, was the one who processed my application that day. And her name and number, or rather her badge number was on the bottom of a document where my lawyer could have found that. My lawyer could have easily found that, reached out to her, which my new lawyers did, and she came and testified emphatically. No way, Mr. Kidd would have been there. It wouldn't have been mailed in. Here's why. It wouldn't have been faxed in. Here's why. Nobody else would have been able to bring it in. Here's why. And really shored up my alibi. But it was some many years later. Just one example of something that my lawyer could have did, but she was not able to do. So,
I mean, the absurdity of that story just really strikes you. You can't imagine much better of an alibi than I was with another law enforcement officer. What were you going to ask, Byron, though?
Was that information ever presented to the prosecution?
No.
I mean,
wow. No. That information, nobody went and chased this information down. Maybe they thought it was a ruse, or that I don't know why they did not chase that information down, but my new lawyers listened to me, found it, and said, hey, they went and found Susan Jordan. And again, she testified, no way, Mr. Kidd. She did not remember me being there per se, but she broke down everything and why I, in fact, would have been there on that day, during that time. They run a mules check, and the mules check came back in. She backtracked the timestamp when the mule checks came back in. She really used the science behind why I would have been where I said I was.
Ricky, your final words.
Yes,
as Michael asked for.
Yes, and I'll be as brief as possible. To Joe, to Byron, to those who are in attendance, those who's listening, Chris and Mike already know I am very serious about this work. I don't just pop on a screen here and there. I eat, sleep, and breathe this work. Thus, we all learning about resilience because we need and vicarious trauma. But I say that to say, feel free to reach out at resilienceMode.com or the link tree linktr period ee/IAR. There you will find how to reach me, how to make contact with me so that we can collaborate. You talked about starting an Innocence Project or doing work. This is the stuff that I do. Last August, I did a Freedom Lap tour. I crisscrossed the country for 30 days in my vehicle. I mounted GoPro technology and went all over the states. Hit about 12 states, raising awareness about wrongful convictions. I'm serious about this work and I love to collaborate. I think together we get to do this and together we accomplish more. So please do not hesitate. If you'd like to hear more, if you'd like me to present, or if you'd like to collab on any level, please do not hesitate to reach out. And thank you, Chris and Michael.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
You know, Ricky and we and Joe and Byron, we I think have approximately 400 folks who are on this program today. So so you can feel assured that there were many folks who were impacted by your story.
Good.
To share some of the takeaways from folks. One person said self-care is critical, own your bias, focus on self-care in order to be a better advocate for others, be more deliberate in my words and deeds. Oh, and bring Ricky Kidd back. Would love to meet him. And we should not try to eliminate bias. We should eliminate bias and finally walk in your client's shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put in a plug for Ricky. I'm not going to plug us, but I am going to plug Ricky. If you need a speaker who is like Ricky could give this program on his own. We realized that the first time we did it with him, we could have just handed him the mic at the beginning and said, just take us. Because as much as Michael and I love talking to people about resilience, and we're still, of course, battling it every day. And I guess Ricky would acknowledge too, hey, every day is a new day when you might gravitate towards some, not as helpful things. But you got to, start fresh with the new, with the new day and try to do some new things to build that resilience. But Ricky speaks to all kinds of groups, schools, courthouses, law firms. Usually, we tag team on law firm type things. But
Ricky spoke to my partner Stephanie's PhD class
Yeah.
a few months ago.
Yeah.
And as much as we love talking about resilience and Michael and his background, we know a thing or two. When we met Ricky, we're like, we don't know nothing because this man endured 23 years in prison. And you can read and find out more about his story, but he's somebody who I'm in awe of because he didn't get bitter, he got better. And he figured out, he became like this model prisoner who, I noticed I'm not saying convict because he was wrongfully convicted, but he was in prison. I guess I can say prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
And he became this prisoner that prisons were actually fighting over, like actually wanted him to be in their population because he made everybody around him better with his drive, his determination, his attitude. And if you want to support that, you can again have him come speak, and there's a donate button on his website also to give to his work to support his work shining a light on injustices in the system and on encouraging folks to develop resilience in whatever walk of life they're on. It's one of the most inspiring stories really you'll ever find.
Yes.